The day was sad and grey as the car pulled over in front of the modest house. A light rain had fallen upon the small town of Aimez during the morning. Thomas pushed the car door and stepped in the modest house. Deep inside him, the feelings of sorrow because of the sudden death of his only sister, while giving birth. His tufts went back to his late parents, for he had promised to take care of his younger sister. He had not get time to fulfill this promise. He had moved to town to find a job and provide a better life for her sister and himself. But things didn't go that way. He had fallen in love to a woman in town and got married, and Eliza had refused him to bring his sister in their home. Alone in the village, his sister got pregnant with the first lover, and now she was dead. He could only ease the feelings of guilty by taking care of his sister baby. Back in town, he was worried of his wife's attitude. Inside the car that brought him back to Aimez, his thoughts were torn between sadness and regret. Soon he reached the house, holding the small baby in hands. The smell of rain mixed with cooking scent welcomed him in front of the house. Holding a small, frail bundle, the tall man, with tired eyes, stepped in the house. His face was a mask of sorrow. "Eliza, come here," he called, his voice trembling slightly. A tall, strict-looking woman with sharp features and a look of impatience appeared at the door. Her 3 children rushed out from behind her, their faces with a mix of curiosity and fear. "What is it, Thomas?" Eliza asked, her eyes frowning as she noticed the baby in his arms. "This is Anna," Thomas said, his voice softening as he looked down at the little child. "She is Jane's child." "Jane? She didn't make it through the birth." Eliza's expression hardened further. "And what do you expect me to do with her, Thomas? I've got 3 children of my own to take care of." Thomas swallowed hardly, trying to keep his calm. "Please, Eliza. You're her only family now. Jane would have wanted her to be with you." Eliza's lips pressed into a thin line. "Fine," she said curtly. "Bring her in." As Thomas stepped inside, the children whispered among themselves. The eldest, a boy named Henry, asked, "Who is she, mother?" "Your cousin," Eliza replied coldly. "Now go to your rooms." Thomas gently placed the baby in a small bed. Thomas gave a look on her one last time. "Thank you, Eliza. I'll give money to help with her care." Eliza nodded, her eyes cold. "You'd better." Eliza turned her gaze to the baby. "You'd better not cause any trouble," she muttered, her tone filled with bitterness. As Thomas left, the door closing behind him with a dull noise, the children returned, crowding around the small bed. Little Mary, the youngest, reached out a tentative hand. "She's so tiny, Mama." "Yes, and she'll grow up just like the rest of you," Eliza snapped. "Now go to bed. It's late." As the children rushed out, Eliza stared down at the baby. "You won't get any special treatment here," she said quietly, her voice a mixture of bitterness and resignation. "You're just another mouth to feed." The baby, like feeling the harsh words, stared up with wide, innocent eyes, her tiny fingers grasping the air. In that moment, a flash of uncertainty crossed Eliza's face, but it vanished as quickly as it had appeared. "Welcome to your new home, Anna," she whispered, a note of resignation in her voice. "Let's wait and see." 5 years went by and the baby grew up rapidly. As the little girl grew up, Eliza took advantage her. She would use her to do housework. Anna, 5 years old, was a delicate little girl with large, expressive brown eyes and unruly curl hair. Despite her small frame and frail appearance, she was strong-willed and determined. But her strength was tested daily in Eliza's household. Anna, "Have you finished scrubbing the floors yet?" Eliza's voice rang out sharply. "Yes, Aunt Eliza," Anna replied quietly, wiping her hands on her old clothes. "Good. Now, go fetch water from the well," Eliza commanded, with a strict look. Anna nodded and hurried out, the heavy bucket clanging against her legs. She watched from a distance as Henry, Mary, and their brother Peter played in the yard, their laughter echoing in the warm air. "Why does she always have to do the chores? She never plays with us?" Mary asked, looking at her mother. "Because she's not like you," Eliza replied rudely. "She's different." Anna heard the words and felt a familiar pain in her chest. She knew she wasn't welcomed, she knew she was different. She was the burden, the unwanted guest. Over time Anna got used to feeling forgotten and despised. Despite living under the same roof, she felt different compared to her cousins who treated her more like a little maid. The distance that Aunt Eliza had created made her isolated in a different world. "Hey, orphan!" Henry called out, his voice mocking. "You missed a spot on the floor." Anna bit her lip and turned away, forcing back tears. She had learned long ago that crying wouldn't help. In this house she hardly had time to rest or eat, even at lunchtime. Sometimes, when the family gathered for dinner, Anna stood in the corner, waiting for leftovers. For Anna, starving nights were countless. The children ate heartily, while Eliza kept a watchful eye on Anna. "Why doesn't Anna go to school with us?" Mama Mary asked innocently. "She doesn't need school," Eliza replied curtly. "She has her chores to do." "But she's smart," Peter protested. "She could learn a lot." "Enough," Eliza snapped. "Anna's place is here, helping out. Now finish your dinner." As Anna watched the family, her heart ached with a longing for acceptance, for a place where she belonged. She dreamed of a day when she could escape this life, when she could find a home where she could be truly loved. It seemed like there were nobody to call for help. Her Uncle Thomas only longed for his wife's approval. He avoided asking questions about his niece, but sometimes noticed that she seemed unhappy. Silence, cries and begging eyes didn't move his feelings no longer. After tiring days at work, he would only eat and rest. Late at night, when the house was quiet, Anna would slip into her hidden place, where she kept a small box of treasures, a worn-out book, a tiny carved bird her mother had made, and a piece of blue ribbon. She would sit by the small window, looking out at the stars, and dream of a different life. "I will find a way out," she whispered to herself, holding the box tightly. "I will find a place where I belong." And so, despite the harshness of her daily life, Anna held on to hope, believing that one day, she would escape her aunt's house and find the happiness she longed for. As days went by, she grew and became a beautiful teenager who was shy, respectful and hardworking. But she was still unhappy and ashamed in front of the other children. A woman in the neighborhood learned about her history and decided to secretly teach her how to read and count. Anna was used to her mother-in-law, bad moods and insults against her, so decided to catch the opportunity to flee from Isle Tracy.
Years went by, Anna turned into a beautiful young girl and hard-working teenager. She often felt ashamed of her old clothes and the constant ridicule from her cousins. She was unhappy and felt out of place, especially when she saw other girls of her age going to school and enjoying their youth. One afternoon, while fetching water, Anna encountered Mrs. Nobby, a kind woman who lived nearby. Mrs. Nobby had always observed Anna's hard work and the way Eliza treated her. "Hello, Anna," Mrs. Nobby greeted her warmly. "How are you today?" "I'm fine, thank you," Anna replied. Mrs. Nobby noticed the sadness in Anna's eyes and decided to offer her help. "Anna, I've been thinking, would you like to learn how to read and count? I can teach you, if you'd like." Anna's eyes widened with surprise. "You would do that for me?" "Of course," Mrs. Nobby smiled. "Everyone deserves to learn. We can meet when your auntie isn't around, after your chores. No one needs to know." "Thank you, Mrs. Nobby," Anna whispered, tears of gratitude welling up in her eyes. "I would like that very much." And so, under the cover of twilight, Anna began her secret lessons with Mrs. Nobby, and enjoying another world. The elderly three-woman patiently taught her how to read and count, nurturing Anna's eager mind and dreams. Despite the long days filled with chores and the constant insults from Eliza, these moments of learning became an island of hope for Anna. One evening, as they were reading, Mrs. Nobby asked, "Anna, have you ever thought about what you want to do when you're older?" Anna paused, the question catching her off guard. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I've always just done what Aunt Eliza told me to." Mrs. Nobby put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's important to dream, Anna. Education can open many doors for you. Don't let anyone make you feel unworthy of a better life." Anna nodded, her heart filled with a mixture of hope and fear. "Thank you, Mrs. Nobby. I promise I'll work hard." One day, Mrs. Nobby proposed a job for Anna at a restaurant she knew of in the nearby town. "Anna, there's a wonderful opportunity for you. This restaurant is looking for a hard-working person like you. Would you be interested?" Anna's eyes lit up with hope. "Yes, Mrs. Nobby, I would love that. But I need to ask Aunt Eliza for permission." Mrs. Nobby nodded, understanding Anna's situation. "Go ahead, dear. I hope she will see this as a chance for you to grow." Anna returned to Eliza's house and nervously approached her aunt. "Aunt Eliza, Mrs. Nobby told me about a job at a restaurant in town. They would pay a good salary. Can I please take it?" Eliza eyed her suspiciously but saw an opportunity to control Anna's earnings. "Fine, you can go. But remember, I expect you to bring your salary home. Do you understand?" "Yes, Aunt Eliza," Anna replied, relieved. "Thank you."
Back at Eliza's house, Anna continued to face her aunt's harsh moods and insults. Eliza's mother, an elderly woman with a sharp tongue, also took every opportunity to belittle Anna. "Anna, you're as useless as a broken clock," the old woman would sneer. "Can't you do anything right?" "Yes, Grandma," Anna would reply quietly, swallowing her pride. She was used to the insults by now, but they still hurt. Despite the harsh environment, Anna's secret education with Mrs. Nobby gave her a sense of purpose. She cherished the books and numbers, finding peace in the knowledge she was gaining. One evening, as she returned home after a lesson, Anna looked up at the stars and whispered to herself, "I will find a way out. I will prove that I am more than what they say." With each passing day, Anna grew stronger in her resolve, determined to create a better future for herself.
Anna started working at the new restaurant, and she quickly impressed everyone with her skills and dedication. The restaurant's patrons loved her cooking, and she found a sense of purpose in her work. One day, while serving tables, Anna met a handsome man named James. He was a regular customer and had always admired Anna's cooking. "Hello, Anna," James greeted her with a warm smile. "Your cooking is amazing, as always." "Thank you, James," Anna replied shyly, her cheeks flushing. "I'm glad you enjoy it." As days turned into weeks, James and Anna started talking more. James was kind and always encouraged Anna, making her feel valued and appreciated. He saw through her shyness and recognized